Welcome to tonight's international news. Let's hear the headlines first. UK government faces mounting criticism over protection clothing shortages. Some states to begin lifting coronavirus restrictions in coming days, says Trump. Lebanon protested despite virus lockdown. Recovery from coronavirus may not confirm immunity, warn experts. And you know it, I know it. Trump says China COVID-19 deaths way ahead of US. These were the headlines. Let's jump into the details news now. Doctors and health workers criticized the British government on Saturday for suggesting that personal protective equipment PPE worn while treating patients infected with coronavirus could be reused as supplies run low across the country. Britain is at or near the peak of a health crisis in which more than 15,000 people have died, the fifth highest national death toll of a pandemic, linked to at least 150,000 deaths worldwide. Data published on Saturday showed 15,464 people have died in British hospitals after testing positive for coronavirus, an increase of 888 in the 24 hours on Friday. That increase is higher than recent days but below the highest daily death toll of 980 seen just over a week. The government issued new guidelines to hospitals on Friday, setting out that alternatives to fluid-meant full-length gowns may need to be used, including reusable gowns or even long-sleeved laboratory coats. The guidance is a further admission of the dire situation that some doctors and healthcare workers continue to find themselves in because of government failings, said Rob Harwood, chairman of the Consultants Committee at the British Medical Association. If it is proposed that staff reuse equipment, this must be demonstrably driven by science and the best evidence rather than availability. A Department of Health spokesman said the guidance was to ensure the staff knew what to do and to minimize risk if shortages did occur, and that the rules remained in line with international standards. US President Donald Trump said on Saturday that Texas and Vermont will allow certain businessmen to reopen on Monday while still observing coronavirus-related precautions, and Montana will begin lifting restrictions on Friday. We continue to see a number of positive signs that the virus has passed its peak, Trump told reporters at a daily briefing. Some state governors have warned that they will not act prematurely to reopen their economics until there is more testing for the virus. However, business leaders have told Trump the country needs to be whispered testing in place before their companies can return to normal operations. On Saturday, Trump said, "Our testing is getting better and better," but offered no concrete evidence. He said both Republican and Democratic governors have announced concrete steps to begin a safe and gradual phased opening. Texas and Vermont will allow certain businesses to open on Monday while still requiring appropriate social distancing precautions, he said. Several hundred people protested in Lebanon on Friday despite the country's coronavirus lockdown, marking 6 months since mass rallies broke out over government corruption and economic hardship. Protesters in the northern city of Tripoli threw rocks at security forces who responded with tear gas and disappeared a group attempting to approach a parliamentarian's house, AFP reporter said. Burning tires in the central Al-Nur Square, a focal point of months of rallies that began on 17 October, they refused to leave when a 7 p.m. curfew came into effect. The protesters, few of whom wore protective masks against the virus, also shouted slogans against the government and the chief of the central bank. The initial rallies last year were sparked by a raft of new taxes and quickly morphed into a street movement calling for a full overhaul of the political class. It led to Prime Minister Saad Hariri's resignation. Even as virologists zero in on the virus that caused COVID-19, a very basic question remains unanswered. Do those who recover from the disease have immunity? There is no clear answer to the question, experts says. Even if many assumed that contracting the potentially deadly disease confers immunity at least for a while. Being immunized means that you have developed an immune response against a virus such that you can repulse it, explained Eric Viver, a professor of immunology in the public hospital system in Merlis. Our immune systems, remember, which normally prevents you from being infected by the same virus later on. For some viral diseases, such as measles, overcoming the sickness confers immunity for life. But for RNA-based virus such as SARS-CoV-2, the scientific name of the bug that caused the COVID-19 disease, it takes about 3 weeks to build up a sufficient quantity of antibodies, and even then they may provide protection for only a few months, Viver told AFP. President Donald Trump has expressed his doubts over the official Chinese figures on the number of deaths in their country due to novel coronavirus pandemic, claiming that the fatalities were way ahead of the US. Trump's comments come 2 days after another 1,300 fatalities were added to the official count in the city of Wuhan, where the outbreak started. The revision puts Chinese overall death toll to more than 4,600. We are not number one. China is number one, just so you understand, Trump told reporters at a White House news conference on Saturday. They are way ahead of us in terms of deaths. It's not even close. According to Trump, when highly developed healthcare systems of the UK, France, Belgium, Italy, and Spain had high fatalities rates, it was 0.33 in China. The president asserted that the actual number was much more than the official Chinese death toll figures, which he said were unrealistic. You know it, I know it, and they know it. But you don't want to report it. Why? He asked. You will have to explain that. Someday I will explain it. He also highlighted that on a per capita basis, the mortality rate in the US was far lower than the other nations of Western Europe.